According to research highlighted by the Decision Lab, people who had less time and fewer options to make a decision reported being more satisfied than those who had more time and more choices. What does that mean for you? If you're tired of feeling drained by constant decision making, this is your sign. Simplifying the process doesn't just save time, it actually makes you happier with your choices. This episode will share the science behind smart decision making, why too many options lead to overwhelm, and 3 practical steps that you can use to simplify your choices and make better decisions faster. Let's dive into what's happening when we make decisions. So studies show that the more options that we have, the harder it is to choose. Why? Because your brain goes into overdrive, trying to outweigh and weigh up every possibility. This is called decision fatigue. It's a real thing. And it's why endless scrolling through Netflix can feel exhausting. It's not the watching, it's the choosing that's the hard part. On top of that, when there's too much time to decide, we tend to second guess ourselves and stress over whether or not we've made the right call. So this creates what's called the paradox of choice. The idea, while having options seems like freedom, it often leaves us feeling stuck, anxious, and less satisfied. If we go back to the study, when participants had only 2 options and a short amount of time to decide, they were far more content with their choices. Now let's go into why that was. So number 1 is clarity. With fewer options, your brain doesn't have to juggle as much information, so it can focus more clearly. And number 2 is the confidence. When you spend less time agonizing over options, you trust your choice more because you're not endlessly second guessing, you just have less time to do it. So the lesson in this is simplifying your decision making process isn't about settling, it's about protecting your energy and making smarter choices without unnecessary stress. So now that we understand why too many options are the problem, let's look at how to make smarter decisions more easily. So number 1, what you want to do is set a time limit. If you give yourself a deadline, it forces clarity. For everyday decisions, just try giving yourself 5 to 10 minutes max. For low stake decisions, you can make it even shorter. Just pick something and move on. If it's the wrong, in air quotes, decision, you can always just go back to the other one if that didn't work out. But most of the time you'll be satisfied with the thing that you chose. So number 2 is to limit your options. Narrow down your choices just to 2 or 3, max. This applies to everything from deciding what to eat to choosing a career move. For example, instead of considering every single possibility for your next project, focus on the top 2 that will create the most impact. Number 3, you want to define good enough to you. You want to aim for progress, not perfection. Ask yourself, what is the next best step that I can take? So just like, what's the next best move for me? Not like the whole picture. What's the next best step that I can take? It eliminates the overthinking and helps you move forward. Remember, you can always course correct later if you need. You just want to get moving and you want to get that progress. Let's talk about the common roadblock in making decisions, which we've talked about in earlier episodes, is the fear of getting it wrong. Here's the truth. Failure is not final. It is just feedback. Every decision gives you valuable data on what works and what doesn't work. When you can see failure as a lesson instead of a personal flaw, it changes everything. So it's no longer about avoiding mistakes, it's about learning, adapting, and growing. So next time you hesitate because you're afraid of failing, remind yourself no decision is permanent and every choice is a step towards clarity. Let's make this practical. So here's a quick exercise. Think about a decision that you've been putting off. Big or small, try this. Number 1, set a timer for 5 minutes. Number 2, write down your top 2 options for that decision. Number 3, pick one that feels most aligned with what you need right now, and that's it. Don't overthink it. Once you decide, commit to moving forward and remind yourself that you can always adjust if needed. Notice what you notice. See what happens. Decision making doesn't have to be draining. By narrowing down your options, setting limits, and focusing on progress instead of perfection, you can save your energy, you can feel more confident in your choices, and that's it. That's literally, for me these days, making decisions is really simple, whereas I used to spend just so much time and energy just contemplating, figuring out every alternative option and everything. Now, the number one question is, what is my best next step? What step do I have to take to move this forward? Sometimes you do have to wait, but that's actually pretty rare. There's usually something that you can do. What is your next best step? In the next episode, we'll dive into building momentum and trusting in yourself so you can follow through on those decisions with ease. If self-doubt has ever held you back, you won't want to miss that one. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, show up for yourself, and I will see you next time.